Graham?
Here.
Kutil?
Here.
Jackson?
Here.
Miles?
Here.
Randall?
Here.
All right.
Look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For motion to approve the minutes of the joint city council planning and zoning meeting and our regular planning and zoning meeting from July 29th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes of the July 29th meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments on non-agenda items. I know you're here for an agenda item, so.
And a couple more coming in, so we can just, I think they're probably here for agenda items, like you.
He's going to be here for, yes, same reason
And we'll
she's
reserve the
here.
agenda, so, okay, I think we're good.
That's another neighbor.
Perfect.
We have a couple of minutes here. Mr. Clark, why don't you bring us up today?
Okay, so residential, we have 9 open single-family home commits and 1 twin home. Commercial, we're in contact with the Rice Lake, their project manager. I know they're doing a lot of testing and things, but they haven't asked for a building final, but they know the cost, so we're in a holding pattern. We did a pre-final for 126 North Main across the street, and only did ask us for a second final for that second story here. Pro framing, the headquarters, Eric's said they needed one more item there, so before we do a final there. Road Ventures, I think right next to you, is sort of in a holding pattern. They haven't officially said that, but very little work has been done.
Oh, no, there's work being done.
Okay, today?
They've got a ton of the framing up.
Okay, well, that, as of Saturday morning, today's what, Tuesday?
As of this morning, there was nothing but bolts in the foundation.
Right.
As of tonight, they're putting roof on.
Well, last thing corrected in the last 6 to 8 hours. The car wash, we've done 2 pre-files, and I know it's open, and I think it was free until
Monday,
Free
through
on
Monday.
weekend, yeah.
Monday, you guys know.
Oh, yeah,
So,
already been there.
But it hasn't been completely filed, there's a few site issues, so. And then that other commercial shop building up on North Oaks is in the rough framing status. And then the city of Hartford's redoing their bathrooms. I guess they was in bad shape, Teresa, or?
In the park.
Yeah, the park.
We took down the old one by the old basketball and tore that down and put up a new one. The other one wasn't usable for the last few years. So it'll be right by the pickleball court. The new one.
That's about it.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Clark? Teresa, I'm going to have you just give us any additions to your report before we go here.
Okay, you're going out of order, so I'm not ready. Basically, I gave you updates of where we are in the various projects, and let me know if you have any questions. The city is advertising. We have 2 open positions, just FYI. We're still looking for a full-time wastewater operator for the new plant, and then we have a public works position, full-time public works position that is open. Jane Folsom is no longer with us, so we're advertising for those 2 positions, full-time positions. The wastewater regionalization, we are still working towards that. We've kind of put the memorandum of understanding with Crooks and Colton on hold. What we're doing now is ISG and AE2S have jointly or have won the request for proposal information to do the engineering, to basically the surveying work, the preliminary work of, analyzing everything. We're going to wait for that preliminary report to come through, because that'll give us a lot of data as far as numbers on, gallonage coming in, out, number of accounts and whatnot, and we'll have more information for the MOU. So we're waiting for that preliminary engineering report to be done for the regionalization before we move forward with the MOU. And they're in the middle, they've started that already, and so we'll wait till that data comes through. Just giving an update, we're still working with the Windsor Group and Turtle Creek Highlands for proposed TIFs. So, future agendas, I'm sure things will come forward as we progress on those, but we're still working with them. Otherwise, that's all I have as far as.
Are they allowed to curb and gutter that before they've even zoned or anything that
Yep.
piece of land? Okay.
Yeah, they can put infrastructure in.
Okay.
They won't be able to pull any building permits until they've got it curved and got infrastructures in, but they can put, yeah. so.
And those lights are up on the corner of 38 and Colton.
Yep.
In the meeting, it said no lights were up. They're already up. I don't know if they're lit, but they're up.
That's the state that's supposed to be putting down. We've
I'm
been
not
working
out
with
past
them
dark,
for
so
a
I
year
don't know
to
if
try to
they
get
light up,
those
but-
up. So if they're out there, great. They're
they're not home
great.
anymore.
Because we've been waiting a while, so, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if they light up, but they're up.
Perfect. Make some progress.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Any other questions for Teresa?
Okay.
It is 7:05. Look for motion to adjourn as planning and zoning and reconvene as Board of Adjustments.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn as planning and zoning board and reconvene as Board of Adjustments. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are now at the Board of Adjustments. 7:05 variance hearing. Variance request to the city's on-premises sign regulations. Teresa, staff report?
Okay, so the city has received a variance request on our on-premise signs. We've received it from Mega Max Storage. They are the units that are in the far southwest corner of the Western Meadows development. They've got the multiple buildings there. Basically, they've already put up a couple of signs that are within our regulations. They would like some additional signage, just because of the large size of the lots. They would like to put some more signage along the interstate, from what I'm understanding. Our regulations, how much sign you can put up, how many square feet, really goes off of how much front footage you have. And your front footage is basically determined or defined as your access street to the property. Well, if you guys have looked in the packet and look at the shape of this lot, it's kind of oddly shaped because it's a large lot, but it bottlenecks down to the road of where they get access. So they're limited on how much signage area they can have because they've got a smaller frontage. Where normally, usually the width of your lot, you've got that whole street frontage. So this is a little different circumstance here with this lot. It's oddly shaped and it restricts how much signage, the square footage of signage you can have. Where it's located and the size of the lot and going off the irregular shape of the lot, which is no other lot in that area has that, staff is recommending approval. They would like to put on 2 additional signage for there, on their property. We don't see any issues with allowing that. We think, if you look at our variance criteria, because of the irregular shape of the lot, I think it would fall under section F as far as an exemption. We do have a representative with Mega Storage on the phone, if you guys have any questions.
The signs are gonna go out by the interstate.
From what I understand, I think.
Trevor, are you muted or are you with us?
I'm with you.
The proposed signs that you want to do, are those going to go on the south buildings facing the interstate? Is that your plan?
Yes, that is the plan. So right now, how we have it set up is, because I believe our allotted square footage was 250 square feet. So how we chose to use that for, as of now, is we have a 200 square foot, 10 by 20 foot sign on the south side, and we have then a 5 by 10 foot sign like on the frontage. So ideally, we would like to put on 2 more signs on the interstate. There'd be the exact same sign. One of them might just have our website on it as opposed to our logo as well. And then, I guess the only other thing that we would consider is just putting the same size sign at the entrance as well, depending on how much square footage we would have to work with. But definitely have more, 2 more signs on that south side is what's most important to us.
Yeah, I think a couple other things for us to think and consider when we're doing this too, as you're talking. In an industrial park, and it's multiple buildings. So if that parcel had been developed into separate lots, let's just say that they put a street into there and put the same number of buildings in there, every one of those buildings would get their frontage of that street for signage.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. They would have subdivided it, yeah.
And it makes no difference whether it's a public street or a private street even, is that correct, Teresa?
Right. Street you have access off of, so
Right.
it could be public or
And
private.
it does have their access is so bottlenecked.
And then that's just it, just the shape of the lot, it's bottleneck where it has access.
And if they were considered a corner lot, they would get
Right.
both sides of the corner, as long as they have a driveway that comes in up. Well, you don't even have a driveway up that street. You just have to have a corner street.
You have to have access already, yeah, so if you had from both sides, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve 2 signs. I absolutely don't see an issue with it.
I will second that.
We have a motion, and we have a
To approve
second.
just the 2 signs, or also
To-
allowing
we're
to
gonna-
put one at the front? He said-
Well, we're just approving the variance for the square footage of
Oh,
signage.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so the approval was, or possible action was approval of the variance to allow up to 2 additional signs, which is an additional 400 square feet.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I'm.
That's
there.
what the variant, the application said.
Right.
Up to 2 10-foot by 20-foot signs, so
Okay, so
400 square feet.
Okay.
Yep. I'm good with that.
Any other discussion?
There aren't any regulations by the DOT on signage that you have to comply with?
Not that far off, and you can't have it in there right away. I mean, they've got some regulations of lighting, so
I was just gonna say,
I
you
don't
can't light
see it
them up.
shining it out towards the interstate, yeah, so, but that's up to them to deal with it.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't.
Go ahead and put your lights on there, Trevor. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Anything else? See no further discussion, we'll vote. Kutil,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Randall, yes. Variance approved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn as a Board of Adjustments and re-adjourn as Planning and Zoning.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn as Board of Adjustments and reconvene as Planning and Zoning Board. All in favor? Aye. Trevor, we're going to let you go.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for your consideration and the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to, closing up our 7:15 rezone hearing. Request to rezone parcel 2386-2 and 80872 to residential high density. Teresa, give us a staff report.
So this is a rezone request that the city has received. These are for 2 lots that are off of Western Avenue. They are on the east side of Western Avenue. They're between Ramona Drive and 5th Street. They're kind of in the middle of the block. You've noticed where the sign is at, and there's a map in your packet to look at it. There is interest in getting those parcels developed into residential. They are indicated in the concept plan, single-family residential, but they would be smaller square footage. So they would like to rezone those parcels to our new zoning, which is residential high density. The land is basically 2 parcels. There's a north parcel that is already residential, but we'd have to rezone it to residential high density. And the south part is NRC, which that, once again, residential high density. That would allow them to use both parcels if they purchase this property to develop according to our new residential standards. This area, is already completely surrounded by residents. It's single family on the south and the west side, and then to the north It's basically multifamily, you've got leisure living there, plus the 2 sixplexes, which are on the north side as well. So it is in a residential area, and as the zoning that they're going for is the residential high density.
So right now, we have the south side, which is the open area, is currently NRC,
Right,
and where all the trees are is currently residential.
right.
But if, the way it's zoned right now, without turning it from residential to residential high density, someone could come in there and build homes on the north lot right now.
Well, they could, yep, 'cause that is zoned residential, so you could build, following basically the lot width and area and setbacks for a residential. Yeah.
And the only difference between residential and residential high density is that lot size and frontage.
Right, the width size, so normally, in normal residential, you have to have 66 feet of lot width in the front, and in residential high density, we brought that down to, what, 55? Yeah, so it's slightly less.
And the front rear setbacks are exactly the same
They're exactly
between the
the
two.
same, yep. The side yards are 7 to 5, but the front and back are 25 feet, just like it is in residential right now, it is zoned, so. The plan was presented to us is basically, it would be very similar to north on Bernadine Place. There'd be a private drive on the south side, and then the homes would be more towards the north side, and hoping to capture and keep as many trees as they can on that north side for the backyards.
As a member of the public, can you explain what HRC zoning means as far as what's on the south parcel?
Oh, the NRC?
NRC.
NRC is natural resources and conservation.
So it's basically like city aid land. It's like for park areas, for wetlands, for natural habitat that's, yeah. So, yeah. Kind of got a silly name, but.
Public comments, we'll open it up to the floor for whoever would like to speak.
So I guess my
We need
question.
name and address first for Teresa to put in.
Certainly. Vanessa Haken, 406 Northwestern. My question would be, if it's already partially zoned as NRC, why wouldn't the community be more interested in expanding that to the existing grove of trees and turning it into a park or something that the community could use together? My understanding is that the current owners don't live in the area, and my guess would be that they are probably looking to just sell the property to not pay the property taxes. It's also my understanding that a few years ago, Hartford did a community development plan where they asked for the community's input on different things, and there were a number of requests for more family-friendly community spaces. So if part of this land is already natural resource conservation, and there's a large grove of trees to the north of leisure living, wouldn't it potentially be in the benefit of the community to expand that zone to encompass both lots and turn it into a community garden or a pollinator garden? I see that there's quite a bit of road construction on Western, and I think that part of that construction is to add a large bike and walking path that's going to go all the way down Western. It is not.
Until the county decides to, and that's probably at least 10 years off.
Darn.
At least.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the city's only on one side, the county's on the other, so they
Okay.
still own the right of ways
Okay.
till we're on both sides.
At any rate, my suggestion is to expand that NRC to encompass both lots and turn it into community space.
And I would like a little piece of the way that you're going. The problem that I would see with that is access.
understand that. And I think that's also
'Cause
part
all
of
of a
the
sudden-
concern with turning it into multiple homes is the access to Western. I mean, that's such a busy road, and to put 2 to 3 homes in one space is a little bit of a safety concern.
We also have the problem, we don't own the land, you know.
Right.
So,
Right,
you know.
right, I completely understand that.
We can't develop land we don't
Right.
own, and they have an offer to sell it to us.
Didn't you say a lot of those trees are kind of dilapidated or not?
Well, the problem with the trees there is the majority of them are ash trees, so somewhere in the next few years here, they're all gonna have to come out, because they're all gonna die. Because none of them have been treated. And I've not went down the row up there, just when I'm in a couple of the neighbors' here backyards and go up the hill and up on top and take a peek. It pretty much appears to me that they're all ash.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Tony, thank you. I'm the individual that's looking at buying that property, and we've taken a lot of time to address the inevitable concerns of the nice folks that live around there. The trees on the north side of that lot really create a nice buffer between whatever you put there and the nursing home. I walked it yesterday with a tree guy.
What'd the tree guy have to say?
Tree guy. The object of the game there is to pull the front row of trees out. They're scrub trees and they're almost all dead, or many of them. But an effort will be made to hold on to as many of those trees as possible. We've spent a lot of time with the city engineer here. Really nice kid, really liked him. And trying to be as considerate of the neighbors as possible. Streetlights, there'll be 2 streetlights there. They're gonna be downlights. They're not gonna shine into anyone's yard, into anyone's windows. The asphalt street that would go in there would be a private drive, not a street, with drainage, proper drainage. So I don't know if the folks around there get water drainage from that slope right now or not, but it'll definitely be better.
The people on the east side do.
I'm sorry.
The people on the east side do. On the east side of the property,
Oh, okay. Over on Oak Street?
behind Leisure Living and at the end of Ramona, the water runs off that hill
Okay,
between,
okay.
yeah, they get a lot of runoff.
We've had,
With every development, you know, whoever develops it or whatever is developed for, you know, they do have to submit drainage plans to the cities for our engineers to
Yeah.
review, and you've got to meet those drainage requirements. So
yeah.
whether you develop it or somebody else, or whatever goes in there, yeah, we do have a process in place, because drainage is a big thing. Yes, I mean, that's becoming more and more, one of the biggest issues is, so we do have drainage standards, and any kind of development has to submit a drainage plan to the city. It gets reviewed and has to be approved by the city engineer before you go in, so.
We've spoken to the fire and, you know, make sure the hydrant is placed properly. Justin told us about how many streetlights we need and stuff, so I would really like to put the neighbors' minds at ease that we're putting them first in any design that we do. The homes are not gonna be city eyesore houses, I hate saying that, but we want them to blend in with the scenery there. We want them to be a little more upscale looking and not ticky-tack, like you see in 2/3 of Sioux Falls now, so. Is there anything I'm forgetting, Teresa?
Oh, okay. They do have that new concept plan.
Okay.
And yeah, they are single-family homes. There'll be a wall at the end of it, where they'll have the turnaround.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll have to put in, you know, curb and gutter for and address the drainage, you know, for the development and the streetlights, so. I guess it'd be if the board has any more questions, or if there's any more questions.
Seems like I remember when windows come before, aren't these like 2-story homes?
So this is
This is
a
a
different
different-
developer, different plan.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. It's changed, the concept, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Somebody was there.
Yeah. There's been a few people that have looked at it, so.
It's kind of a tough little property.
And it is, it's, you know, it's remained undeveloped because it's in mid-block. You only have the one access, like Tony pointed out, from Western Avenue. You don't have anything from the east side, so it makes it a challenge to.
Yeah, this property, previously, different developer came in asking for variances,
Yeah.
which then precipitated us to start looking at it and saying, what about the residential high density? That's how the residential high density came about, was rather than giving a variance and let them go for it, we actually went through the whole zoning process, had our hearings to change and add the residential high density zoning.
Can I?
You bet.
Or is that okay?
To the podium.
Do you want to stay here with me? I can. So you said they were one story?
Sorry, can I have your name?
Jennifer Davis? Okay.
Sure.
I think Teresa gave these to the members as well.
You guys want to share this one? She's showing the pictures too, but that's their layout that they have proposed. But I think she's showing the pictures right there too, potentially.
Well, that's our thing, so it'll be a road.
Teresa or Tony, is there anything that says, like when they put that street in, as another buffer for the houses to the south, that along the private drive, that they would need to be good, or some sort of barrier there at all?
It's rezoned, as long as they follow our regulations, they don't have a conditional use, so we can't.
Sure, but their
Okay.
back doors are facing
It's agreed upon.
backyard,
In our
my
notes.
backyard too.
And there's
208.
1, 2, 3,
Okay. Or one house.
at least the first 3 or 4 houses all there. No, they're not.
Out of curiosity, what
Have you
is
been in there?
between 900 and 1,000?
Well, the one we just got in.
So for the audience that's listening, we should probably get back on track with a single
Yes.
conversation
Sorry,
for
guys.
the people at home.
Okay.
Okay, so I live the second house in at 304. From Western? Yes. So the blue one? It's the brown and pink one, the one next to the blue one. So on my backyard starts the curve of the hill. So are you planning to come and level everything out? Or are you going to fill in dirt at the end of the lot?
The whole property will be graded along that south side to accommodate drainage. And there'll be drainage to take it out to Western Avenue, just like Teresa was explaining.
So then how do you keep my hill intact?
Hill, we're not gonna do anything to your yard.
But how does it stay from eroding away? Because you're gonna have to cut the hill down to some degree.
There will have to be some, I'm not sure what you're asking me, but we'll have to grade and prepare the space for the asphalt.
So your part will be lower, and then all of a sudden you have this high hill where my yard is?
Is your prop,
You're at 304 on Ramona there?
so if you're at your, do you have a fence in your property? And so if you're at your fence, is your grade higher than her grade or lower than?
It will be higher.
Her fence, her backyard comes and then the back, probably 10 feet of it goes whoop, and then it is on top, and her fence is at the very top of it, which is level with the property next door.
So you should be able to answer, because, well, they can't affect her land, so what's that gonna do to her?
That's what I'm wondering, how is that gonna?
But also grading it to put the street stuff, the curb and gutter also should help with that a little bit, I would think.
So,
That whole north field came from Ramona Drive. When Ramona Drive was put in, all that dirt off Ramona got shoved on the north side of her property. So it's irregular. Where her house sits is 10 feet taller than everyone else's. So when you come in on the north side to put the road in, she's gonna have this big mound sitting on her yard and shake straight down where the road will in. So to do
Well, I
this
know
right,
that's
you need to
exactly
really go through and bump
her shape
everyone's
is
yard
correct.
out
Right.
to square it all up.
that'd be more of a question for our engineer. I don't know if they would shave it straight down or if they'd make it more of a slope to go to the road, you know? Well, we haven't seen any of those planned yet, so that's more, and the engineer's gonna have to figure that out, you know? If they do shave it straight down, to me, they'll have to put like in a retaining wall
There'd be
or
retaining
something there.
walls and things. and-
They'll have to put something engineered in place there, or they're gonna have to make it a slope, you know,
Right.
to accommodate it, so.
Nothing
that's-
would
that's an
erode from
engineer
your-
question.
No,
Right.
it just will look really weird, and I'll just throw it out, I would not be opposed to coming shaving up my hills either, but then I got landscaping and the fence to put back, but.
And
Hill is
sprinklers.
the buggers.
And sprinklers.
And sprinklers.
And
You must be
sprinklers.
real.
So, you know, that's.
And I mean,
a big
and
deal.
her engineer would have to present that of how they are gonna handle those situations. That would be reviewed by the city's engineer then to make sure they're all within our standards.
And then I guess if they come and grade that back, how much lower would it be than my fence? Or are those people just gonna be able to see right over my fence?
I don't know.
I said, that's all an engineer question, we're not even to that point, and, you know, this is just a rezone hearing, so
So,
they haven't presented any engineering plans to us yet.
So outside of that would be the road in the green.
Yep, the road is proposed to go on the south side.
You might not have neighbors looking so good fence, but
Well, it just depends if they're back far enough by the trees. Like I sat down there tonight, I can see the whole top half of the tree, you know, half
Yeah,
of
sure.
the tree, and they are big trees, so.
Yeah.
Well, and I assume, though, you're going to be making their living to the back, that they're going to entertaining to the back, and most of the front would be the driveway, the entrance.
Yes,
Sometimes when they're back farther and they're taller, that just gives it more ability to see farther down.
right.
How low would you have to build something in order to not see into your property?
Probably a lot.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is, that's the way, it
What
yeah,
would
it
you-
stinks, she's been spoiled.
Right.
It
Yeah,
stinks.
and definitely, you know, probably not.
Yeah, watch each other have dinner, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna, yeah, we're gonna bring this back around the corner just a little bit, please. We're looking tonight at whether or not we're going to approve rezoning the property. Unfortunately, all of the discussion of how it's gonna build and how it's gonna go together and everything else doesn't have any bearing on whether or not we can approve a rezone. Okay? We're saying that if we approve a rezone, we're saying you can build houses there. How they build them, how it fits into the neighborhood, unfortunately, is not a criteria for whether we decide to rezone. We rezone under, is this a good plan for the neighborhood? Does it fit the rest of the neighborhood and what it is? All of that being said, I know that there's concerns. I know that this is a piece of ground that is a challenge for anybody to work with. And you guys have got dialogue started here tonight. Absolutely, I want names, and phone numbers, and all of that stuff shared amongst the residents and the possible property owner, so that you all can talk. And I'm fairly certain that she will provide you with plans and ideas, and to be able to show you what they plan to do and everything, long before they start rolling in there with a scraper and digging out dirt and making a mess out of it. It's a struggle thing, and it's, unfortunately, all this discussion started getting us way past the horse in what we had going on here, so don't mean to throttle everybody back, but in the course of how we go about doing the things here, all of that discussion is really not germane to whether or not we allow a rezone. So, thoughts or questions, discussion from the board?
I would agree with that comment.
Question?
Well, I'm Krista Trana, I live at 208 West Ramona. Keeping it to germane to the topic, for those of the landowners that purchased and have lived on the property and it has been known, and it has been zoned as NRC, knowing that that was how we had purchased the property. Now, I apologize, I know I sound a little bit snickly that I didn't know what NRC meant, but to know what I invested into my property, and then now to have the possibility that my property cost almost $400,000, to now have essentially a street on the front and the back, or however it's going to be, that really is going to affect my property value, my resale value, and not what I had anticipated when things were zoned the way that they were when I purchased the property. So I just would like you to keep that in mind for those of us who live on that street. I'm very proud of my home. I'm very proud of what I was able to purchase as a single widowed mom. And so I don't want to be losing my investment on that as my children are growing. So please keep that in consideration.
Would it matter to you if, instead of putting the layout like it is, they flipped it over? Because then the backs of the houses would be against the back of your house and be like having a neighbor in your backyard.
I feel like that could be more appropriate. I understand the developer's thoughts on, I mean, that's part of why I was drawn to my property, is that it's southern facing, and so when the snow comes in the winter, I don't have to work so hard to get my driveway cleaned off. But yes, it would feel much more like a typical neighborhood to be sharing backyards rather than having, I mean, I know it's not gonna be a city street, it's gonna be a private drive, but to essentially have a street in my backyard and on my front yard, it makes those of us who have invested in those properties in the past now feel like we're on a bit of an island, you know, to not feel that community feeling of having that more green space around.
I just wanted your opinion, that's why I asked that question.
I appreciate that, thank you.
If we did that, we would have to tear out all those trees. And the main focus has been to tear out the dead stuff at the front and to tuck these small houses in amongst those trees and salvage as many of them as possible. A bare piece of land, if you look anywhere, isn't nearly as attractive as something with trees on it. So that would be a little more difficult to deal with. It'd also be going uphill. So
I don't disagree with your perspective on your plans, absolutely, I see where you're coming from, but I have to stand here and look out for myself.
Yeah.
You know. And I don't mean any criticism or anything to it, I just want to work myself in my.
All right, any other discussion from the board?
I mean, on one side it is already residential.
What's that?
So the one side is already residential.
Right.
Right.
So
does the sewer
But
part
it's not-
come into this meeting or not? Is
What's
that
that?
different? The sewer line?
No.
That's all part of engineering.
Okay.
That's all down the line when we get out there.
No, I know there's a whole lot of other mechanical considerations, but as far as whether we zone it or not, it doesn't.
And there's going to be a whole lot of engineering plans and regulations that they got standards that need to be met going forward.
Because we just had a parks meeting and recommendation, was this property looked at as far as an area for parks, if it was desirable to become a park?
There's no access
Or
to
if
it
they made
except
any-
through Western.
I said, I
I was
think
just wondering if
access,
there's any comments made to that effect. That the plan would be to turn it into a park anyway.
But the city doesn't own it.
I know the city doesn't own it.
Let me say, the largest and biggest problem with that piece of property being any type of community green space, park, anything like that is,
Community center.
the only way to get in is from the west. Otherwise, every access onto that property is through everybody's backyards.
I know, I was just wondering if the park department came and said, we'd love to put a park right where that empty lot is, then that would be one thing. But they've never voiced that opinion. It's not on their list of desirable locations.
No, I know going through the plan that was looked at, but it is not an ideal place for a park. You want two accesses, you'd want additional land. If you would make it a park or any like community area, picnics, community building, whatnot, you want that double access.
I think the unfortunate thing is we do have to make some of these hard decisions, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve the zone change.
I'm going to second it.
We have a motion to approve the zoning change and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go to vote. Anderson.
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Kutil.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Miles.
No.
And I also vote no. But motion carries, variance is approved. Move on to old business. The Park Bible.
So this did go to the Park and Rec Board at their meeting last week. They reviewed it. We talked, just like we talked here with you guys, this is basically evolving plan. I mean, it's not set in stone, it's just like our comprehensive plan, just like our community plan. Just because it's put in there does not mean that that's exactly what's going to be. It's something that'll need to be reviewed every year or periodically to make sure it still aligns with the goals of the city and where it wants to go. So it's a planning tool, like I said, just like our comprehensive plan and whatnot. Park and Rec Board, you know, doing this plan by ISG was approved by the city council. You know, we are paying their fees. They have presented this document. What they're looking for now is basically, do you have any input on additions, deletions, changes? Do you not agree with something before it goes to city council for final approval? So basically, it's looking for your input on any changes you feel should be incorporated or considered. Not saying they will be incorporated or considered by ISG before it goes to city council. Park and Rec Board did not have any changes to consider. They were good with as presented. Like I said, knowing it's an ever-evolving plan.
And how often is this updated?
We'll look at it annually, just like we do our other plans, to see if it's still viable, if anything is drastically changed or whatnot, or if we're going in a different direction. So,
I thought it looked like a super plan. Excellent ideas. I'm all for it. I would emphasize the swimming pool right away. We gotta get that going. Like
there was a
tomorrow.
lot of talk about the swimming pool.
Need that
I was just
tomorrow.
gonna say, how did that go? Was that a longer conversation?
Oh, yes, and as you see on the Lions Park Master Plan, you know, that they have an area marked out for
Yeah.
a future pool improvement. They've even been incorporated into the plan, but behind the scenes have given city staff cost estimates and whatnot, so we can start kind of that planning process, because we know inevitably at some point, you know, our pool's 50 years old, it's gonna need, and it's starting to get leaks
You
and
sure it's not older
problems.
than that?
Well, it might be, but I know it's at least 50 years
It's
old.
old as
We might be going on 151 or 2. It's
Second thing I would
had its better days.
Second thing I would emphasize would be the bike walking trails.
Yep.
I mean, they're helter-skelter. You go down the trail, it ends. You turn around and go back. There's no continuity between any of them.
And we do have a master bike trail
I'm really-
plan,
I'm just saying,
and we've
my
just been
priority
trying to
would be
incorporate
swimming
where
pool,
we can
bike
grants,
trail.
where we can get land, and you're right, they're helter. It'd be great to be able to just do them all, but
It would.
I actually have,
everything comes down to money.
I actually have a teenage boy that likes to play pickleball and they can hardly ever get on the court. So I think the expansion of the pickleball
Yeah,
courts
my
would
daughter's
be-
the same way. Loves
And
it.
that's gonna
the
be
fact
really
that a
cool.
teenager doesn't want to go around driving around in their car and go
I know, right?
do stupid things, I'm
And the
all for
Park
it.
and Rec Board is requesting another double court to be put
Yeah.
in next year, and
My
there's plans for
15-year-old
another
daughter goes
future
to
one
like
after that
that,
too,
and
because
pickleball.
it's,
Yeah.
we know it's getting used and it's popular.
I think the whole plan is great. I would make a nomination that we approve it.
I didn't have any changes either, Tony.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the plan as presented. Any more discussion, questions, thoughts, concerns?
When do we start digging?
Tomorrow.
Any comment on the weeds being gone there? You didn't comment on the weeds. They were
Oh,
gone.
did they get taken care of?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, nice.
They used their boy toys and they pushed them down.
East of the cemetery,
Yeah,
I was going to comment on that tonight. They look very.
What does that have to, what does that have to do
it
with?
just
the
came
park?
up.
doesn't.
It just
Sorry.
came up when he was
You're
talking
right.
about the bike trails and the
Sorry.
weeds and, sorry, squirrel.
Sorry about that, Tony.
For the 27 reasons why we couldn't get them cut down, they look super.
Yep.
Maybe before we vote, the only thing I will say is I do think we had talked about it briefly on the, whenever we met last, the 29th. That parking at the park is gonna be, I just don't know with those trees and removing them and adding all that parking space there to the south.
Yeah, you can't mention that till my mom's gone.
Well, and that's why I started looking at, I actually drove by it after that because I'm like, there's no way, that's gonna, I feel bad for those neighbors and those trees and
Yeah,
that,
you
so.
can't even, shh.
Though it is a lot, I
She's
mean, it's a
80.
big expansion of
She's
those
80,
parking.
81.
But-
And like I said, this is all the future.
Right,
When
81.
and if
And if
certain
it-
things happen, you know, if we decide to do a parking lot improvement, that'll all have to be discussed at that
Right.
time of
and even
what's
if,
good, what's not, and, yeah.
and even if we approve this, right, you said it's a living document, right? We can
Yeah.
just continue to make those changes, okay.
Yep.
Everything.
Every document. pretty much.
Everything that's in here and every thought and concept and
Yeah.
when it's gonna give builder anything, it's kind of like a new get and go with a car wash. It only took, I believe I've lived in town here 11 years and there were 2 dilapidated signs sitting on that lot
Yep.
already saying it was coming soon before it actually opened, so.
Agreed.
I can't believe you actually went through it. I was scared.
I
didn't
did.
go through it.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I went
scared.
past and everything.
Squirrel.
It's great.
we
You
have
brought
any
up
other-
the car wash?
Oh,
You squirrel.
Any other discussion?
Let's vote.
The question has been called. We'll vote. Motion is made to approve master park plans presented by ISG.
Oh, gosh, yeah, I don't even
Motion
have
and
a
a
guess.
second.
Motion and a second. Anderson.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes.
Kutil.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Jackson.
yep.
Randall, yes.
Okay,
Do we have any new business? It says none on here.
no new business.
So all we have is Mr. Christensen with your report.
Some code enforcement items that I've been looking into: rubbish and junk, tall grass and weeds, blowing grass on the street, garbage service requirements, no pet licenses, animals at large, and tree branches, low-hanging tree branches over street.
So how does the tall grass and weeds ordinance work with someone's landscaping?
Like in their landscape?
Yeah, the weeds are 3 feet tall all the way around the house and the landscaping.
There's a significant amount that should be removed.
What's that?
Yeah, if there's a significant amount that should be removed. If they're not,
Do you have to wait for neighbors to complain?
Staff sees it. If we get a complaint, staff sees it. You guys see it, you can let us know too, you know, once we're made aware of it, we can address it.
Yeah, you can call, text, email me.
Better not be my house, mine's not getting drip, so I'm not getting my little one.
No, I just, driving here this evening, I noticed one within a block or block and a half of here that's, looks pretty ugly. From your report on the Highway 38 ditches,
Yes.
and your comment on there about finding a way to manage that, okay, do we have any suggestions?
Well, I was thinking if you just knock the height down, it'll be better than what's there. I did notice all except for 2 properties, they succeeded in doing that.
Okay, would you like my suggestion on how to manage it?
Yes.
Teresa, you, Craig, somebody needs to talk to DOT and say, we want these ditches to be able to be managed and maintained. Because obviously that's DOT's right of way and DOT's problem. That those ditches, the bottom of the ditches are anywhere from a foot to 18 inches below the culverts. Those ditches are never gonna dry out. They are never gonna be able to be maintained. There's a drop off. It's at least this much of a drop off coming down where the grass, and then all of a sudden it just falls right in. I know exactly what it's all about there because I spent 6.5 hours in that ditch in front of the professional center knocking all those cattails down. And within 3 weeks or a month from now, those cattails all be growing right back up again. And it's gonna be the same process all over. If we as a city are going to enforce the ordinance and make those be cut down, I mean, I was gonna say, it's gonna be, it's a burden on those property owners to have to pay, to have that done, and the amount of time it takes to get that done, as compared to if that ditch was the way it should be, so that a lawnmower could go down through there. Yeah, once in a while, it's gonna be wet and damp. You can't mow it for a week or 2 or whatever. But right now, even if it dried out, you can't run a mower in the bottom of that ditch. Because it's a ditch within a ditch.
Yeah, I'll have that conversation with Craig again. Teresa, didn't we have
Like I said,
one a while back?
I said the DOT came and
They're pretty
did a
unresponsive.
project along there, and this was a few years ago. Did a lot of digging out there, and I think they made it worse. Like you said, they got it below the culvert.
Digging's not the answer.
DOT.
I mean, they need to bring it.
Right, you need to bring in some dirt.
Yeah, the bottom of that ditch needs to be filled up and it needs to be brought up to
Yeah,
the level of
they made
culverts
it
and grade
worse
and
than,
whatever.
yeah.
DOT dug it out once and city staff dug it out once also, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to do that.
And they got in trouble for that.
So, yeah, I mean, it is hard to work with DOT. We will contact them again,
You know,
try
and
to.
the other side of it, yeah,
Their property.
we don't have 10-foot tall cattails, living cattails there now. Now we have a brown, ugly ditch bottom with all dried up brown stuff. So, I mean, I tend to question whether the vegetation there was a problem or a bunch of dead, cut off, 8-foot tall cattails laying in the bottom of the ditch, and the whole bottom of the ditch is brown all
What
the
do you
way
wanna look
along.
at, you know?
Which way is uglier? Which way is worse? But the solution to it is DOT needs to get that ditch
Better
so it's
drainage.
manageable.
They might have some extra dirt with all the work they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll try to get ahold of DOT and see if we can get them to respond to it. That's what it is. They need to rework that so it gets better drainage, basically, isn't it?
And I think since it runs through our city, I think staff is well within their rights to push on them and say, you need to do something about this. Okay, cool. Any other questions for Mr. Christensen? You're good.
I make a motion to
To-
adjourn.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
I don't know, are we taking a picture?
Yes, we are taking a picture, because I don't know when I'll have you guys all together again.